Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Friday, January 2nd. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Friday NHL card. We've got a small card on Friday, but a couple of big games and a couple of big atmospheres, we hope, including the Winter Classic, the first ever NHL outdoor game in the state of Florida, Lone Depot Park. Rangers, Panthers on TNT. That will be part of the discussion, one of four games taking place in the NHL on this Friday. Before we get into that, we will lots to talk about, obviously. The rosters have all been announced now. It was Canada a couple days ago. We got the rosters of the U.S., Sweden, Finland, the other major countries announced in the Olympics as far as earlier today. We'll get to that in a moment. First, though, we'll look back on what we saw New Year's Day. Ottawa gets a huge, much-needed win, beating the Washington Capitals 4-3. Big comeback win for them, which was a much-needed one after losing three in a row. And not playing particularly well either in those games, as the Senators were able to obviously stop the bleeding. Nice comeback win, one they desperately needed, and they got the job done there. Utah explodes on the scoreboard, 7-2. They pummel the New York Islanders. A very impressive showing by the Mammoth, especially offensively for a team that's been hit or miss. Dylan Guenther, what a game for him, getting the hat trick for the Utah Mammoth in that victory. And here's the issue you run into when Ilya Sorokin's out for all these games in a row and you're forced to start David Rittich several games in a row. Eventually, there's going to be some decline. And I think maybe we saw that last night as well, or yesterday afternoon with David Rittich. You know, you start a guy that many times in a row, he's eventually going to wear down, and he's not going to be as sharp and effective the longer you have to put. Remember, this is a guy that's just been a backup goaltender most of his career, and now you're asking him to start a handful of games in a row. Eventually, it's going to catch up to him, and maybe it showed signs of it yesterday that was what happened. He got pulled after the 5 goals allowed. Hogberg came in and finished the game, but Utah gets a nice 7-2 win there in that one. A wild one with Detroit and Pittsburgh, and looked early like we were going to cruise to winning the best bet on the over. Then in the third period, it looked like we were going to lose it because it was 2-2 for the longest time. And then, bam, Pittsburgh takes the late third period lead, and Detroit ties it basically a minute or two right after that. So we do cash the best bet on the show, Detroit-Pittsburgh over 6.5. So great to hit that. And the Penguins get a 4-3 overtime win against the Red Wings. The back-to-back spot for the Red Wings yesterday, not the best scheduling spot. And Pittsburgh gets the job done there in that game against the Detroit Red Wings. And they'll play each other again, by the way, tomorrow afternoon on ABC, as ABC Saturday Hockey is back now that we're into January. So that'll be an ABC Saturday afternoon game, Pittsburgh at Detroit tomorrow, with one of our favorites, Bob Wischusen, calling that. So looking forward to that. As far as Montreal, man, one of the best wins of the entire day yesterday has to go to Montreal, because Carolina was coming off, obviously, the 7-5 win, or they coming off the 5-1 loss, Carolina, against Pittsburgh with Freddie Anderson in net. But boy, they did not bounce. Well, they bounced back offensively, but defensively, a disaster for the Habs. For the Canes, rather. 7-5, they lose to the Montreal Canadiens last night. Not one of Bussy's finer performances, but you know, that team was terrible in front of them last night defensively. The turnovers, the miscues, the breakdowns in coverage, it was all over the place for Rod Brindamore's team. He talked about it. Jordan Staal, very frustrated. The captain sounded after that loss last night. Not good enough defensively, but again, without Jacob Slavin, who's by far, it's not even a debate, by far the best shutdown defenseman on this team. And David, our friend from Raleigh, who's on Thursdays, he made a good point. Seth Jarvis, yeah, you miss his offense, you miss his forechecking, his physicality. He's a good defensive player too. And without him, your defense kind of suffers a little bit. So a lot of issues for Carolina. They have to tighten things up because this has not been good enough when you're giving up 12 goals to Montreal and Pittsburgh in the last 2 games combined, and they lose 7-5 to the Habs there last night. I'm going to put these 2 games together because I have a hard time deciding which loss was worse. The Los Angeles Kings or the Winnipeg Jets last night. These were two, not bad. These were two horrific, horrendous losses. Brutal. Bad as it gets for both teams. Let's start with Winnipeg. They've been crying out for offense. Where's the goals? The offense is dried up. This team can't score goals. Well, you get out to a 2-0 lead in the first period. You eventually have a 4-1 lead that chases a very good goaltender in Joseph Woll from the game. They replace him with Dennis Hildeby, who, by the way, was really good the rest of the way after he came into the net for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then all of a sudden, the one thing you're supposed to rely on is some defense for Winnipeg when you're not scoring. And you can't hold a 4-1 lead. You can't hold multiple leads. Toronto comes back and eventually ties it. And then, of course, they get the game-winning goal from Austin Matthews, who had a hat trick last night. And boy, is that ever a great sight for Leaf fans. Looking to see that danger in offensively, that dangerous offensive player that Austin Matthews has been. Finally showed signs of it last night. He was all over the ice. He was great. He had the hat trick. Terrible misplay and giveaway by Comrie, unfortunately. He had a kind of a rough night as well on that Austin Matthews game-winning goal. Jets had chances late, and what a save by Dennis Hildeby with about 5 seconds left. He got the arm on the Mark Scheifele shot to preserve the win, preserve Alex's best bet on the show with Leafs in regulation. You need to be slated Christmas card to the Hildebeest after that.
Yeah, definitely. That game was nuts. And like I said, I kind of stopped flipping over to it once I saw Woll was pulled, and it kind of slowed down. And then all of a sudden I'm checking the score tracker, and all of a sudden I'm seeing Toronto roaring back, and I flip back over. Then that big save at the end of the game by Hildebeest. And like I said, it was a great call too on the radio call there. That's you get lucky sometimes with those. That's a game I'm supposed to lose. And I had a couple of bad beats in the first half of the season. That's one of those lucky wins that you like to get throughout the course of the year, certainly.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the call was great by Joe. His call on the Austin Matthews hat trick goal was spectacular too. A few minutes earlier. I mean, that guy's going to be missed, man. It's a terrible shame. It's his last year. He's been so good, and that's going to be some tough shoes to fill on the Leaf Radio booth next year and beyond. Without Joe Bowen. But yeah, a couple of great calls, and that's a big win for the Leafs. Great win. The momentum keeps rolling now. That's 9 of the last 10 points they've picked up, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there you go. They're building a little streak here, building a little momentum. They're back in the race again, and that Atlantic division is nuts. Like, it's so bunched up right now, top to bottom in that division. It's exciting to see it, no question. And then we get to L.A., man. That might be even worse, because in that game, at least you have the lead there, 3-2 in the third period, and then it just crumbles. Bang, Anthony Cirelli, tie game. Bang, Gage Gonçalves. Gives them the lead with less than 2 minutes to go, and into the empty net, Nikita Kucherov to put it away for just an unbelievably bad collapse by the Los Angeles Kings late in that game. Up 3-2. And they lose 5-3 in regulation. That was a good game for me. We had the first period over, full game over. We had Tampa money. I wasn't even that worried that Tampa was on a back-to-back. I said Tampa as a dog to this LA team. I said I got to bet that, even with Johansson in that. Johansson was shaky to begin that game as well for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then he kind of settled down after that. But that's a horrific loss. I mean, they've had a lot of bad losses, the Los Angeles Kings, this season, and going back to the playoff series, multiple bad losses that turned that series around against Edmonton. Sickens me to even think about it over and over again. But like I said, that's a terrible loss for the LA Kings, and a loss you can't afford when you're swimming upstream. And you're out of a playoff spot now if you're the Kings. You're no longer in a playoff spot, and now you got all kinds of teams you got to battle with. So that's a brutal loss for LA, but credit to Tampa getting back-to-back wins in consecutive nights against Anaheim and LA. That's awful brutal, as I said. Just quickly, Seattle 4-1 against Nashville. Pretty good win there for the Kraken. Grubauer, again, all of a sudden, he's red hot out of nowhere. Philip Grubauer has been tremendous here in his last 3-4 starts for Seattle. And another good start for him last night in the 4-1 Seattle win. And how about Alex B. Smith's Chicago Blackhawks? 2 wins against the mighty Dallas Stars in less than a week. I know there's some fun back and forth going on in our chat with the Robinsons and Alex. Ryan Robinson did not make a New Year's resolution, apparently, that he's not going to spaz out, wig out, flip out after every little bad moment for the Dallas Stars, there he is saying, "Oh, here we go. Minnesota's catching us for the Ryan definitely. Whoa, some serious emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions. What was that? Mariah Carey? Yeah, that's Ryan Robinson with the Dallas Stars. Lots of emotions in that guy when it comes to his Dallas Stars. But yeah, that's a good win for Chicago. Spencer Knight was real solid. I know there was a couple late goals. You'd like to close the game a little better than that if you're Chicago, but at the bottom line was it was put away pretty much before that when it was 4-1. But good win for Chicago, Alex. And like I said, maybe we're at the point, maybe we wish we could play the Dallas Stars every freaking day.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we've gotten to that point just quite yet, but that's a good win, and it's a bad loss for Dallas, mainly because they were just dragging their asses in the second period.
That's happened to them in multiple games this year.
Yeah,
it's just like they're in quicksand. Yeah,
and you can't afford to do that against weaker teams. Chicago's a much weaker team than Dallas. Buffalo, granted, the 10-game win streak they're on, are overall a weaker team than Dallas. You can't afford to have these kind of lulls and lapses. And then you wonder, too, the majority of this Dallas Stars team, at least the core pieces, are all going to Milan in a month. So this is a team where you have to kind of wonder, where is their headspace going to be at between now and the Olympic break? Because a lot of these guys are getting their plans and affairs in order to get ready to join their respective clubs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And I'm starting to think that may be a case with a team like Dallas, who's sending so many guys over. Because it's just hard to fathom where this team, they have good moments. We saw, like I said, the third period, they finally woke up. It was a little too late, but they looked like themselves late in that third period, controlling the pace of play. And, if they had been just even a little bit more engaged in the second period, they probably tie that game up and it goes to OT. I like the draw in that spot because I'm thinking we're going to see a good goaltending battle between Ottinger and Knight. And Ottinger made some good saves. Knight just outdueled him. And the Hawks get the win there. But that is concerning for Dallas. You can't have these kind of just slow, games where you just take off periods, especially on the road against teams you're supposed to beat. With the way Colorado's playing, with the way Minnesota's playing, you can't afford to rest on any of these games, especially within the division. Before you know it, you're in third place and you lost home ice, or worse, you're now in the wild card race if you keep on doing that. So that's a tough loss for them. Just like you said, tough loss for the LA Kings, I'm grateful to see that they're now out of a playoff race. As someone who bet them to miss the playoffs at the beginning of the year, to see this fall from grace is hopefully going to be an omen to what we could collect in our pockets. But that's a good win for Tampa Bay as well. This is a Lightning team that is now starting to string it together. That getting a win on a back-to-back, a tough road spot, Johansson net. Those are spots where we don't bet on Tampa Bay naturally, but you can't lay 120, 125 with the Kings the way they're playing. And even though they had a lead, like I said, they can't hold on to it. And this is a team that is just absolutely abysmal at home. And I don't know what's going to change. And at this point now, you're at the halfway point of the season. If you continue to lose, what does firing Hiller do at this point? Does that spur any kind of momentum where they all of a sudden now become a playoff team again, a team that could try and win the Pacific? I highly doubt that. I think you've missed your window to try and make an impact and make a move if you're the LA Kings. So now you're stuck with them, and maybe you get hot after the Olympic break and find your way into a wild card spot. But I'll be fading them like hell if they find their way into the postseason, because this team just looks like a mess, and you can't win at home. That's the first omen to a bad, struggling team. So.
Yeah, no question. No question about that. Yeah, Bo Horvat's injury, which looked real bad live. I forgot to mention that about the Utah Islanders game, but it looks like he's avoided the worst-case scenario. And, in fact, it looks like he's only going to be out for a short period of time, and it probably won't jeopardize his ability to participate for Team Canada at the Winter Olympics in Milan, Cortina, over in Italy next month. So, from that standpoint, the worst-case scenario avoided there for Bo Horvat. All right. I'm going to, we got to get to the games, but I'm going to make this not too long-winded, which is not always easy for me, but I'm going to try at least to do that with the rosters. We'll start, of course, with the United States, Finland. I have some things to say about Finland and Sweden, too, but we'll start, obviously, with the United States roster. There's a couple omissions that, are puzzling to me when you look at the U.S. roster. And look, Bill Guerin is getting excoriated right now by a lot of people on Twitter for the roster exclusions and the people that didn't make the U.S. roster from a lot of hockey fans, but Jason Robertson stands out as number one. I mean, how is this guy not on this team? Does he have faults in his game? Absolutely. Is he a streaky player at times? Absolutely he is. But how can you justify, when you look at this team right now, the number one American scorer right now this season in the National Hockey League is Jason Robertson right now? How do you justify him not being on this team? It's absolutely absurd. It's a terrible omission. I'm pretty pissed that Cole Caulfield's not on this team with the offensive season he's had. Now, there's going to be that debate that, hey, you're in small ice, even smaller than NHL regulation ice. You need size. You need big guys on this team, and that's not exactly Cole Caulfield as far as the prototype is concerned. But like I said, I mean, JT Miller, who's injured right now, Trocheck, I mean, those are the guys you're putting on this roster over Jason Robertson and Cole Caulfield, who's just an offensive dynamo this year with what he's saying. Size be damned. You got to put the puck in the freaking net to win gold, man. I mean, you got enough people to do that? I mean, that's going to be that's the fascinating thing about, a lot of the decisions they've made here with this roster. Will there be enough offense? I've got my concerns with that. You look at the blue line here, and obviously, you got Faber, Hannafin, Hughes, Jones. Seth Jones, a bit of an eye-opener, but he has had a great year with the Florida Panthers. There's no question about that. Jake Sanderson, Jacob Slavin, if healthy, Zach Werenski. I don't have as many gripes about the defense, but like I said, there's some glaring omissions as far as the forward group is concerned for Team USA, in my opinion. And yeah, Perlo's right too. He's a better than you think defensive player, Jason Robertson. So like I said, it's just stunning here to me that we've got him missing. We've got Cole Caulfield not in there as well. I mean, those are the two as far as the forwards that really stand out. Like, whoa, how the hell are these two guys not on the team? I could even give Sweden some grief on the blue line here. You look at their forward. I'll just rhyme it off for the U.S. The forwards: Matt Boldy, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, JT Miller, Brock Nelson, Tage Thompson, the Kachucks, and Vincent Trocheck. Defense: Faber, Hannafin, Hughes, Jones, McAvoy, Sanderson, Slavin, Werenski. Goaltenders: Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, and Jeremy Swayman. For Sweden, you've got Jesper Bratt, Leo Carlson, Joel Eriksson, Philip Forsberg, Pontus Holmberg, Adrian Kempe, Gabe Landeskog, Elias Lindholm, William Nylander, Elias Pettersson, Ricard Raquel, Lucas Raymond, Alex Wenberg, Mika Zibanejad. How crazy is it, by the way, that Lindholm wants his name pronounced Elias and Pettersson wants his name pronounced Elias? And I remembered both of those. So it's pretty pretty crazy how that works. But defense for Sweden: Rasmus Andersson, Philip Broberg, Jonas Brodin, Rasmus Dahlin, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Gustav Forsling, Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson. Here's two that I'm kind of surprised didn't make the team on the blue line. I know Matthias Ekholm's older, and he's had some injury history, but that's a guy with a lot of experience. He's actually physical. He'll protect the front of the net. I'm a little surprised Matthias Ekholm didn't make the blue line for Sweden, and I'm surprised Simon Edvinsson didn't get a look. I thought Simon Edvinsson has had a really good season for the Detroit Red Wings. In fact, there's people that think he might end up having as good or better a career than Seider. That's how good he's been for the Detroit Red Wings. And like I said, so I'm a little bit surprised Edvinsson. And with the effort we've seen from him this year, he didn't make the Swedish blue line. Philip Gustafsson, Jacob Markstrom, and Jesper Wallstedt. How about that? Both Minnesota Wild goaltenders for Team Sweden. Wallstedt, Gustafsson, and Jacob. I'll tell you what about that trio. Gustafsson's still in a big spot in the Olympics against the best shooters you're going to face on the other side. I got to see it. Markstrom, we all know, hasn't had a great season for New Jersey. And Wallstedt's going to be good, but he's been a little bit more spotty of late, and he's facing the best players in the world now. So, I mean, that goaltending group, Alex, for Sweden, I've got some questions there about how good it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he's also facing the best players in the world on a nightly basis because he's in the National Hockey League. But I think that is an interesting choice, and I'm sure everyone here in the Twin Cities and all of Minnesota clutching their pearls that both of their goaltenders will be going overseas. But like you said, it's interesting omissions, and you're gonna have this when you're talking about a tournament. And I'm sure having the four nations last year, not only did it obviously it gives all the teams that took place in it a little bit of room to plan for what's happening now, but the style of play is going to be different. That was more NHL rules. It was full on NHL ice. We saw the physicality. We saw the fights. You're not having that in the Olympics. You don't need guys to drop the gloves and for Team USA if you're trying to get the grittier edge of play. To say that a Vincent Trocheck is a guy that is better suited for international play than Jason Robertson is just flat out wrong, in my opinion. And if you're talking about size that you need, how do you take 5'7" Clayton Keller over a 6'3" Jason Robertson? Like they're talking out of both sides of the mouth, and it's just I get it. It's infuriating. Like I said, we've seen all the tweets and all the different things today, and I've gotten a real kick out of everybody slamming Bill Guerin, people saying they hate the Wild. I say, by all means, join that bandwagon. Talk as much shit on them as you want, but at the end of the day, these are still talented guys. And with this format and setup, and Rich makes a great point in the chat too. We're playing this condensed schedule. Guys have gotten hurt. Guys will continue to get hurt. We're probably going to see some pieces come in and out of this lineup before they all go over to Italy in a month. And so you see a Matthew Tkachuk who hasn't played a game yet, but now he's on the roster. Is he going to make his debut this season playing over in the Olympics? That remains to be seen. Like I said, JT Miller is banged up. There's a couple of other guys who are banged up. So these rosters aren't necessarily set in full on stone. And we could see these guys. We could see Robertson end up playing. So, I get everybody's gut reaction and expectations, but things could change between now and a month with how physical the season and the NHL season has been so far. And if a guy goes down with an injury or feels like he's not comfortable, ready enough to play, then they'll make those changes.
Yep, exactly. Like I said, Finland, by the way, I want to mention them. Sebastian Aho, Yoel Armia, Michael Granlund, Eric Haula, Rope Hinsk, Kaapo Kakko, Oliver Kapanen, Joel Kiviranta, Arturi Lehkonen, Anton Lundell, Eetu Kuhlman, Luostarinen, Mikko Rantanen, Teuvo Teravainen, Eli Tolvanen. Those are your forwards for Finland. Defensemen, Miro Heiskanen, Henri Jokiharju, Mikko Lehtinen, Esa Lindell, Olli Mata, Nicholas Matanpalo, Nico Mikkola, Rasmus Ristolainen, and goaltenders UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Kevin Lankinen, and UC Saros. So there you go. As far as the Finnish team, I have no real, it's a smaller pool to choose from. Obviously, with
I know, Finland. Yeah, it's just funny that Kevin Lankinen is an Olympian. That's something I would have never guessed watching his rookie year with the Hawks.
Yeah, I know it's, but that's kind of the state where this is not the most vintage. Finland and Quebec. Parallels are amazing. It's like they've both not been cranking out the assembly line of goaltenders at a high level like they did, say, 10, 20 years ago. Both of them at the same time. Quebec is known for a goaltending factory out of Canada, and now Finland too. And we are not quite seeing it, at the level that we saw even 5, 10, 15 years ago, both of them.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. That's true. And we're seeing a hotbed of goaltenders come out of the U.S. Yeah. The next Olympics is going to be a real conversation of which three goalies you take, because you're talking about an older Hellebuck. We'll see how he goes. Still in a prime Ottinger, still in a prime Swayman, but then you throw in Spencer Knight, you throw in Dustin Wolf. There's a lot. So it's funny how the landscape has changed, right? And this is all due to the Olympics. We've seen growth and development within the U.S. team and American players over the last 20 years as a result of growing with the junior game and growing with the college game here. So you're starting to see that tide turn. Like I said, it's not always Finland, it's not always Quebec producing the quality goalies. You're gonna have these other countries getting to play. You're gonna have Czechia and down the line Latvia and Germany. They're gonna start developing more guys too. So.
All right, good stuff there. All right, let's go to today's card. We got 4 games. You know what? That's your number one case for the no Jason Robertson on the team is his playoff history recently, and I get that part of it. But when you have the kind of season right now you're having, and you're the number one, in scoring for American-born players right now this season in the NHL, even with your playoff and your big game concerns, you got to find a spot for the guy. That's all there is to it. To me, you have to.
And if we're going to talk about playoff concerns, isn't this whole tournament taking place on the road and you have Connor Hellebuck on your team? Give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah, road Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs. That's right. We're not worried about that.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah, no doubt. Because we know his road performances have been just so good in the Stanley Cup playoffs. No, so that's a fair point. No doubt. But we could go on we could do a 3-hour show talking about the Olympic rosters and the who deserved it, and who is excluded, and who should have been on that isn't. But we must move on, and we will get to the Friday slate because we got a game starting in about 30 minutes from now. We've got one afternoon game here on this Friday slate. Vegas Golden Knights, St. Louis Blues. Vegas minus 140, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. I'm not laying a damn thing with Vegas on the road right now. I mean, look at this team defensively right now. They're giving up goals left and right. They keep talking about fixing it, and I don't see it getting fixed. It continues to be a struggle in the defensive zone, and I know this team's got people out. They've got no Shea Theodore. They've got, obviously, on the blue line, they've had Pietrangelo out all year. It looks like Braden McNabb also got injured against Nashville with an upper body injury sustained. He didn't play, in the latter part of the third period. We'll have to see if he's playing today. I don't think he is. We do have Carter Hart and Joel Hofer, by the way, confirmed. Yeah, McNabb's out. So that is one of your better physical shutdown, defensemen in his own end now missing for the Vegas Golden Knights as well. So it's a team that's just having a tough time keeping the puck out of the net right now. Now you do have Carter Hart off getting pulled. He was pulled in his last start for the Vegas Golden Knights. He'll be looking to bounce back strong. Remember that game where they lost 5-2 to Minnesota before the Nashville loss? He got pulled. He got yanked from the net. And so he'll be looking to bounce back. But I'm telling you right now, with this Vegas team, they have allowed during this 1-6 stretch in their last 7 games, and in their they've allowed 6 to Calgary, 4 to Edmonton. They did bomb San Jose 7-2. That's the one game where they held a team below 3. Colorado 6, Minnesota 5, Nashville 4. They're just having all kinds of issues right now keeping the puck out of the net going into this game. So these are small bets, but I did a little Blues team total over 2.5, full game over 5.5. I just got to see the defense correct itself before I'm ready to expect anything different. Because now they talked about this after the Colorado and the Minnesota losses, trying to shore things up, be sound, be tighter, be structured, be more, not give up the blue line, not have these, lulls in defensive coverage. They've talked about this multiple games, and we're not seeing it fixed for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, like I said, I think St. Louis can get to 3 here in this spot. Hofer's been the better of the 2 goalies compared to him and Binnington. So, like I said, we'll see how this one plays out. But I'm going to go team total on not the money line, because, like I said, the Vegas Golden Knights still have shown some proficiency to score goals despite the defensive woes during this rough stretch. So it's just Blues team total over for me, and I'm also going to dabble in that 5.5 over as well. Alex, what do you think here? Vegas, St. Louis.
Yeah, I just took a shot with first period over 1.5. You get minus $1.18 at BetMGM, and that's also available at BetOnline as well. Both those prices. Like I said, struggling defense. Carter Hart looked rusty. He's looked a bit rusty. Hofer, we know we can't always trust him. So early start time as well. I can at least see 2 goals in the first 20 minutes.
All right, good stuff. As far as props for this afternoon's game, and this is the only afternoon game, and again, it is starting in about 30 minutes from now between these two teams. But you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, and it looks like we've got Barbashev. Eichel is back. That's the good news here for the Vegas Golden Knights. They will have Eichel obviously back in the lineup with Barbashev and Bowman. Looks like that's going to be the top line here for this matinee affair for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's definitely something that not a moment too soon for the return of Jack Eichel with the struggles the Golden Knights have had. Certainly without him in the lineup, this bad run that they've had pretty much goes back to his absence. But Mark Stone has scored in back-to-back games. I'm going to look toward Dalibor Dvorsky. This guy scored in the last game. He's had chances every single time he's been in there for the St. Louis Blues. Has been in the lineup. So I think that's worth a look. I don't mind Brandon Saad. I know it's, he's not exactly doing a whole lot offensively, but if you're going to buy into
what's new?
Yeah. Yeah, not obviously past his prime, not the Brandon Saad we saw in his heyday with Chicago, but it is the former player angle. I mean, he's been struggling so much. I don't love, trusting him to actually bury one, but at the same point in time, it's a big price. It is a former player angle for him, obviously, back in St. Louis against the Blues. So if you buy into that, okay. But like I said, he hasn't had a great offensive season, and that's putting it mildly here for Vegas. All right, next up, we've got, here it is. The Winter Classic, Lone Depot Park, home of the Miami Marlins. And this event is probably going to shatter any Miami Marlins attendance figure as far as people in the building. Not that that's very difficult to accomplish. But Florida minus 140, home favorites here, 5.5 the total here in the Winter Classic, Rangers and Panthers. Obviously, this setup is going to be fascinating to watch. How good is the ice conditions? And I'll say this about the Miami weather today. We're talking about, right now, temperature of around 70 Fahrenheit, and it's going to be falling, by the time this puck drops here for the game tonight between the Rangers and Panthers. And we're expecting it game time around, it looks like 62, 63, 64 Fahrenheit in that range. So it's at least going to, the temperature is going to cooperate to try to make the ice a little bit better. But from all reports, man, it's not looking good. Will Cooley had a great quote saying, everything looked slow. The ice looked choppy. It was hard to make, tape to tape passes, and just the puck just sitting right on the stick. That's the hardest thing to do when the ice conditions are shit, and being able to make those kind of plays work. So that's the concern here, is that this ice is going to be, not in the best condition, even though they're trying to do everything in their power as far as the, dehumidification and all the elements that they're going to place to try to, make sure the ice remains in decent condition. But again, when you're playing in a venue like Miami, where you're still going to have mild temperatures for this time of year, like I said, it's going to be still a major concern just how good these ice conditions or bad these ice conditions might be for this particular hockey game. As far as handicapping the actual game itself, Rangers are slumping. They've lost 3 in a row, and again, struggling to score goals has been at the forefront, of these recent losses as well. You got Florida. They've turned their season around since the beginning of December. They've played great hockey. Now they're only 1-2 coming out of the Christmas break. And one of those losses, the most recent one being that Montreal loss where they're up 2-0 in the third and they let it slip. Montreal ties it and then wins it on a power play and a Nick Suzuki goal in overtime. So you got Florida off that 3-2 loss to Montreal. We kind of saw it coming, that could be a little bit of a look ahead to this Winter Classic spot for Florida against Montreal the other night. They are 4-0 off a loss. Their last 4 games off a loss, Florida. I'd expect them to bounce back here. It'll be interesting to see how loud the crowd is and how that, amplifies itself when you're watching on television. But, I would expect good energy out of the gate from the Panthers here hosting this game. A lot of times you do see the home team, carry the play early in the game. And I talked about this game and another one as well on the Beyond the Lines video for Wizard Sports Picks today. And I mentioned on that video that I think first period puck line's a solid value bet here with Florida. You can get that at -0.5 in the plus 150 to plus 160 range. First period puck line, Panthers to have the lead after the opening 20 minutes. I think there's a real decent chance we do see Florida get on the board first. You could go first goal, first period as well, if you like. But the -0.5 plus 160 in that range is a bet I did make on this game. And I did take Florida money line. And I'm not big on laying $1.40 usually. But in this case, I will make an exception to that. I do think Florida wins that game because I don't love the team total. I could see this being, especially if the ice conditions are not great, and it's sounding like there's concern these ice conditions won't be that great. Maybe we get a 3-1 type of win for Florida tonight as opposed to, say, a 5-3 type of win between these two teams tonight. So that's why I opted for the money line with Florida, not the team total, because normally when it's a favorite in this price range, I'll go team total over instead. But this time I went with the money line. So 2 bets for me pregame. Puck line first period, Florida -0.5 +160, and also that Florida money line -140. Winter Classic, TNT, Alex, what do you think here, Rangers, Panthers?
I know we're all supposed to be up in arms and excited about this outdoor phenomenon, the Winter Classic, that's being
Yawn-inducing for our friend Alex here, yeah.
It's taking place semi-outdoors, okay? And it's funny, if you look back at some of the other outdoor games that have taken place in retractable roof stadiums, they've all been games that have gone under the total for the most part. T-Mobile Park in Seattle, we had the Winter Classic with Vegas in Seattle, that was 3-0. Looking back at going back a ways, the game at TD Place 2017, 3-0. You've seen a lot of these lower scoring games outplayed outdoors in the South. The last game we had, Tampa Bay and Nashville, that game ended up being 3-2, going under the total. So the way I played this is I went with Florida first goal, first period. It's like you thinking that they can jump out to an early lead. Plus 115 is the best price available for that at FanDuel. But I went with the parlay tie. Florida and under 7.5. You can either lay -$1 at FanDuel, or you can get plus 105.
That's one of my playoff, specialties right there. The same game parlay where I take the team and I take like a high under in a playoff series. That's coming back, by the way, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We hit some of these under 7.5s parlayed with, we got creative. We did the plus 2.5 on both sides in a game 7 and under 7.5, noting how it's low scoring and close games in a lot of these game 7s. So I like that. That's a good approach.
Yeah, because with choppy ice and the fact that we don't have a lot, and we know how the Rangers offense can be, right? They can go cold, indoors, outdoors, wherever. So I thought, bumping that up to a 7.5 and tying that with Florida, I could easily see us being a 3-2 win. Maybe a sprinkle in the draw. Maybe this could be kind of a low and slow. So that's something I can wait for live. Don't necessarily have to rush and grab that. But the 2 plays that I like now pregame, Florida first goal, first period, plus 115, and Florida to get the victory tied with the under 7.5. Like I said, best price available at BetMGM is plus 105.
No doubt. All right, as far as props, Reinhart, Marchand, Lundell. We've talked about Anton Lundell. He's been someone I've been backing quite a bit as far as finding the back of the net for the Florida Panthers of late. Vincent Trocheck, you can argue all you want whether he should have been on or not. On the U.S. team, whether he should have been on it or not. But the bottom line is he's on the team. He did score in the last game for the New York Rangers. This is one of his former teams here, the Florida Panthers. And we've talked about all week how these players that get selected to represent their country at the Olympics, they're getting a bump from it. How many of them have scored? That first game after the announcement. I mean, it's been pretty amazing how many times it's happened so far this week. So Vincent Trocheck goal prop, could be worth a look here as far as for the New York Rangers in this Winter Classic game as well. So those are some of the props. Again, I'm not going to go too prop heavy because, like Alex stated, I do think there's a chance this could be a little bit harder for goals to come by here in this game tonight, especially if the ice conditions are choppy and not smooth, not the best. Because again, the worst thing about bad ice is the ability to make tape-to-tape crisp passes, and if the puck bounces over your stick, it screws up the whole play and the whole potential to score in a certain scoring chance that you may have. So, again, that is something to keep in mind. Yeah, Nick Suzuki, another one, where it's just been so many of these players, where we have seen, obviously, them. Oh, here's one that I like. We talked about the players that get the bump. One more goal prop for tonight. Florida has gone to the defense. Paul Maurice has come out and talked about it. Players have come out and talked about it. It's not like Canada is totally absolved of, questionable roster decisions. They do have a couple themselves, one of them being Sam Bennett. Where the hell is he on this team? Physicality, big game player, scores big goals in key moments. Where's Sam Bennett on this Canada team? And everybody came to Sam Bennett's defense the last 2 days for Florida. Talking about it's a bunch of nonsense he didn't get selected. It's ridiculous. with how important he is to the team, how well he played last year. So watch Sam Bennett show Canada tonight. I'll show you and pop a goal in. So maybe it's a snub, bet here when it comes to Sam Bennett for the Florida Panthers here tonight in this game. So like I said, I think he's worth a look tonight too. I could see him just, it's just so classic for something like this to happen where, a player doesn't make the team. And his teammates and his head coach have basically gone to Sam Bennett's defense here and say, hey, this is why he should have been on the team. So like I said, watch Sam Bennett score tonight for Florida. It's just something I could totally see happening. All right, Seattle, Vancouver. We've got Vancouver minus 150, home favorites, 5.5 the total. It's the second game in less than a week here between these two teams. They played each other, obviously, in Seattle last weekend. And now here they are meeting up once again here tonight. We've got Seattle on a back-to-back. They hosted Nashville last night and beat the Predators 4-1. We'll see if they can keep it rolling. They lost the game to Vancouver in a shootout 3-2 at home last weekend. I'm tempted to take Seattle, I don't want to lay it with Vancouver. That much I can tell you. I'm not going to be interested one bit in a Vancouver team that's lost 3 of their last 4, that's got a 4-13 record at home this year, by the way. Terrible home record. They're right there with LA, a terrible home team, the Vancouver Canucks this year. Seattle in good form. Joey Daccord in net, who, by the way, Philip Grubauer has been every bit as good as Joey Daccord lately, and even a little bit better in certain starts. But it will be Joey Daccord here in net. I mean, I'm probably going to sprinkle on Seattle at this price. Now, the back-to-back thing is over. They finally won on a back-to-back. Seattle, the last time they were on a back-to-back, they beat Los Angeles, and that snapped that, 17 or 18 game losing streak for the franchise, for the Kraken, on the second night of back-to-back games. So now they're trying to start a win streak here on the second night of back-to-backs. But like I said, this is not a game I'm in love with, but I'm telling you right now, at this price, give me Seattle. It's the only thing I could look at this price, plus 130, even though they're at a rest disadvantage playing on the back-to-back. And I know even after the under last time they played 3-2, that still it's a long-term, whatever it is, 15-2, 15-3 overrun in the series history. I can't do it. I can't do it with Seattle overs, even at 5.5 right now. We saw it again last night. Another under, 4-1, 5 straight unders for Seattle overall coming into tonight. So, like I said, I don't love this game, but I'll sprinkle small on Seattle, plus 130. Alex, what do you think here? Kraken, Canucks.
This is a pass for me. I was trying to search around to see where the best draw price is available. That is Bet Online, plus 322. But you'll have to bet every game. These are 2 bad teams, 2 bad streaks going up against one another, so it's a pass for me.
Yeah, I know. We're back in Seattle on a back-to-back because they got that 1-18. They finally got that one on the second night of back-to-back games, and just ignore the 18 previous back-to-backs they lost consecutively. Yeah, I get it. It's tough, but it's just a price play to me. I mean, we got Vancouver, who stinks at home. The rapid revenge spot for Seattle because they lost at home to Vancouver last week at plus 130. I'll dabble in that, but yeah, definitely not best bet material. There's no question about that. And then as far as, like I said, a couple props, though, for this game. Jared McCann's been good since he's been back-to-back games with a goal for him for the Seattle Kraken. I think I'd look maybe toward Drew O'Connor for Vancouver. He's scored in 3 of the last 5 games for them. You're getting a pretty good price as well for him, Drew O'Connor, for the Canucks tonight in this game. So those were a couple of props maybe worthy here of consideration. All right, our last game of the night, that's not the greatest late game, Seattle-Vancouver. This one might be, though. Minnesota and Anaheim. We've got Minnesota minus 130 road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. Don't know. Well, first of all, it's a no-go zone, no-fly zone. The Ducks fly. It's a no-fly zone for me with the Anaheim Ducks right now. They got to show me that they can snap out of this before I'm ready to back them. They are in their first full-blown skid of the season. You knew it was going to eventually happen at some point, that Anaheim was going to falter a little bit, but that's now 4 straight losses for them, 1-6 in their last 7, 2-8 in their last 10. So it's been a rough stretch here for this Anaheim Ducks team. Minnesota's owned this series, 9-1 in the last 10 meetings against Anaheim, including 6 straight. They've won here in Anaheim 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight times. And also, I think Rich pointed it out just now. 5 straight wins in Anaheim, and the Ducks have lost. Oh my God, is it that bad? I knew it was bad, but Jonathan says the Anaheim is 19-1 against Minnesota in the last 20. Or sorry, Minnesota's 19-1 in the last 20 against Anaheim. 19-1 run in the series for the Minnesota Wild over the Anaheim Ducks. Yeah, it's Wild or pass for me. I'm not crazy about minus 130 on the road against a desperate, home team and I thought Anaheim played hard against Tampa. That was a coin flip game that could have gone either way. I think that was a real sign of progress too from the Ducks. Even though they lost that game in overtime 4-3, they battled throughout that game. In fact, they were leading and Tampa Bay tied it. I thought that was a better game from them, a sign that I think they're close to busting out of this little losing streak. And I totally wouldn't be shocked if it happens tonight. But, at the same time, Minnesota is the better team right now. They've owned this series. I don't want to go against that. So it is a lean to the Wild, but I'm not going to touch that. What I am going to bet is this over and this great over run that we've seen for Anaheim on home ice. It's now, 10-1 to the over, 11-1 to the over in their last 12 home games. Yeah, 11-1 to the over for the Anaheim Ducks in their last 12 home games. So we've been on all these overs recently for Anaheim on home ice. Look at them all. The Tampa game was our best bet a couple days ago, New Year's Eve. Tampa Anaheim over 6.5 it cashed. I was on the San Jose Anaheim over 6.5. Anaheim at home again, it cashed. Columbus Anaheim at home, it cashed. The Dallas Anaheim game at home went over the total. One game in the last 12 at home for Anaheim has stayed under. Guess which game? Oh yeah, the Seattle Kraken, who is pulling fucking teeth to get them over the total. That's the only game during this stretch of home games for Anaheim that stayed under the total, playing the Seattle Kraken, who, like I said, good luck getting that team over the total half the time in their games. So we're going to keep riding it. Minnesota, Anaheim for me, over 6.5 here, minus 105. Alex, what do you think here? Wild Ducks.
Small bets on Minnesota to win in regulation, plus $1.20, and Minnesota tied with the over 4.5 at plus 110. Just got to keep it simple. Roll with the hot trend of 19-1, a Ducks team that hasn't been playing well, that's been struggling of late, and a Wild team that is trying to wrap up this road trip on a high note.
And I think Minnesota comes to play too, because they're going to be frustrated with losing to San Jose in a shootout in their last game. Even though they did rally from a 3-1 deficit to get a point, there's no question about that. We should see Philip Gustafsson in net for Minnesota. Lukas Dostal in net for Anaheim. I'm still, Lukas Dostal's long-term. He's fine. He's going to be a great goalie. But right now, since the injury, it's hurt his recent form. There's no doubt. He hasn't been the same guy since he's come back from that injury. And you look at the recent starts. 4 against Dallas, gets pulled. 3 against Columbus. He did shut down Seattle, 2 goals, but that's not saying much. Somehow gave up 6 to LA, which is terrible. 4 in the last 2 starts for him against Tampa Bay and San Jose. So, like I said, it's unfortunate. The injury has really, really gotten and thrown Lukas Dostal, a very good goaltender, off his game. He is not in his great top form right now for the Anaheim Ducks. I mentioned the 11-1 overrun at home for Anaheim. Let's flip it around. Since getting Quinn Hughes, Minnesota is 6-2-1 to the over, 4-0 to the over on the road since Quinn Hughes was acquired. So every Minnesota road game's gone over the total since Quinn Hughes was acquired as well. So that's why we're just sticking to the total here in this one. And then prop-wise here for Ducks and Wild, as far as goal props are concerned, I think I might jump back in on Tarasenko again. Cooled off, did get back on the scoreboard last game against San Jose. So may look in that direction as far as a goal prop here for the Minnesota Wild tonight in this game. Yurov looks like back with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, so there's definitely value with him centering that top line. For the Anaheim Ducks here tonight, Mason McTavish has been pretty noticeable of late. That's something to keep in mind too. Carlson, Gauthier, Killorn back on the top line for the Anaheim Ducks tonight, but McTavish, Seneca too. Those are 2 that maybe I would look at here for the Anaheim Ducks tonight as far as goal props there. And what should be a good late night game. I'm looking forward to that. And a good point there by Jonathan about Boldy and his success against the Anaheim Ducks. 3 goals in 3 straight games for Matt Boldy. And again, roster bump. He's on Team USA. So yeah, don't be shocked if he has a game tonight, or at least makes an impact here for the Minnesota Wild. The Lacombe snub, yeah, Kookie. He did not make it on the team, Jackson Lacombe. So a snub option, maybe, yeah, no doubt. It's uncanny how these players want to kind of show everybody, hey, you made the wrong choice keeping me off the team. But like I said, I don't think that's not as egregious an error, not even close to some of the others for Team USA. But yeah, I'm sure everyone that didn't make the team is disappointed. Every snub is going to be disappointed. And don't be shocked if they make, have a good couple of games here, to try to show, hey, we're upset we didn't make the team, and we're going to show you made a mistake. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. That's not a bad option there, Aaron. Boldy, a goal, and wild money line parlay together.
Yeah,
there you go. Good value there, because how many times do we see when the Wild win, Boldy's involved, finding the back of the net. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. Appreciate it very much. Check out wizardsportspicks.com. We still got lots going. I know college football is winding down, but NHL, NBA, college basketball, NFL regular season winding down, and the playoffs still to come. So lots going on. It's been a phenomenal 30-day all sports run. Profitable for the full season right now in 4 different sports: NHL, NBA, college basketball, and NHL, NBA, college basketball. What's the other one? NHL, NBA. I'm blanking on it. God damn it. NHL, NBA, college basketball, whatever. But there you go, wizardsportspicks.com. NFL, Jesus. NHL, NBA, college basketball, NFL. There we go. Those are the 4 profitable seasons year to date in all 4 of those. So we'll try to keep it going. We now have 3-day, 7-day, 1-year all access passes now up and available on the website too. So if you want a long-term subscription, and that's always the best way to go, because then you'll be part of the profits long-term, and it's just way more bang for your buck than buying individual premium picks. So check it out, wizardsportspicks.com, the Beyond the Line series too, on the YouTube channel. Check that out as well. And also patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, all our bonus content, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props, posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We can't thank all of you enough for your membership, and keep it coming, because your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. Early next week, we will announce the BetCast dates. I'm still mulling it over, but we will have that announcement Monday or Tuesday next week. 1 free-for-all BetCast, 2 Patreon exclusive live BetCasts in January coming up as well. So we'll announce those early next week. Get on board. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Goalie charts will also be updated this weekend as well over there at Patreon. But definitely don't forget about the Ice Guys store over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You've got 5 days left to save 25% on orders $50 or more. You just hit the redeem button at the homepage, add all of your items to your cart, and the 25% will be taken at checkout. That's all orders $50 or more for the next 5 days over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Kings and queens shop.
Thanks to all our sponsors, including Royal Cannabis. Check them out, royalcannabisshop.com. 20% off with promo code Ice Guys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. 4 games, including the Winter Classic, to choose from. Alex, where are you going for bargain bin special?
Let's go with a pair of plays out in that Anaheim, Minnesota game involving the Wild. The first one, as JD put up on mentioned in the chat, you put it up on the screen. Matt Boldy to get the first goal for the Minnesota Wild, plus 500 He's done that 11 times so far this season. Every team's got a fire starter, and he's certainly the one for the Minnesota Wild. So Matt Boldy, first away team goal, plus 500. The second one involves Matt Boldy, anytime goal, combined with Kirill Kaprizov, anytime goal. You can get that combination plus 340 over at FanDuel. So Matt Boldy, first goal for the Minnesota Wild at plus 500. Matt Boldy, anytime goal with Kirill Kaprizov, anytime goal, plus 340. Those are my two bargain bin specials for this Friday.
All right, there you have it. Bargain bin specials, a couple of them here for Alex here on this slate for this Friday. Both of them from the Minnesota and Anaheim game. All right, bargain bin special for me. I am going to go with just a one here tonight as far as a bargain bin special is concerned. And for me, it is going to be, let me just see. There we go. Yeah, from the it's also from the Minnesota and Anaheim game. Yes, indeed. Yurov. There we go. Danila Yurov for the Minnesota Wild. You can get him at plus 550. There we go. Finally got the price. There we go. Plus 550 is the best price out there right now for Danila Yurov of the Minnesota Wild. Reunited, and it feels so good. Hopefully it feels so good for him back on the top line, it looks like, with Kaprizov and Zook tonight. So like I said, we'll see if he can maybe chip in offensively against an Anaheim team that has clearly had their issues keeping the puck out of the net during this skid that they're on. So Danila Yurov from Minnesota plus 550 for my bargain bin special.
If you combine all three goal scorers, Boldy, Kaprizov, and Yurov, plus 2456 in the parlay.
There we go. Not too bad at all. That is for sure. All right, great stuff. 2-0 best bet sweep for Alex and I to start. That's starting the new year the right way. 2-0 best bet sweep. A little sweaty with both. Detroit, Pittsburgh right at the end with the over. The Leafs in regulation right at the end. But nevertheless, two winners to start the year. We'll see if we can keep it rolling. Alex, best bet. What do you like?
Let's head to the home of the Miami Marlins. Like you said, they'll break an attendance record there. I think you only need 7,000 people in the building to do that. We got the Florida Panthers taking on the New York Rangers in the Winter Classic. Like I said, the ice is going to be choppy because it's 65 degrees and it's Miami. Give me the Florida Panthers tied with the under 7.5 as a parlay, plus 105. That'll be my best bet for Friday night.
There we go. A little Winter Classic, SGP, Rangers, Panthers money line and under 7.5 for Alex B. Smith with his Friday best bet. My best bet, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Going back to yet another Anaheim Ducks over with them on home ice. Minnesota, Anaheim over 6.5, minus 105. Again, 11-1 home ice over run for the Anaheim Ducks. Minnesota 6-2-1 to the over since getting Quinn Hughes, and all four road games for the Minnesota Wild have gone over the total since Quinn Hughes arrived on the scene. Put it all together, I think we go over the total with the Wild and the Ducks. Minnesota, Anaheim over 6.5, minus 105 for my best bet here for this Friday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Looking forward, of course, to tomorrow. Big slate. Looking forward to it, breaking it down. We got one at noon Eastern, right off the hop. So we're going to go right to Pittsburgh, Detroit, right at the beginning, and then we'll do the recap of Friday tomorrow, because we got to get right to that game because it starts.
And any plays we have before, we'll try and post on Patreon too.
Yes.
So check Patreon in the morning before the show as well, and we'll have anything in detail up, so you'll be able to get it in before we go on there.
Yeah, but a huge Saturday card for tomorrow, January 3rd. Looking forward to that. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we are back for the monster Saturday card tomorrow at noon right here on the Ice Guys.